Well, this story's got everyone talking, hasn't it? The Australian Red Cross has banned blood donations from anyone who may have eaten frozen berries as fears intensify over the safety of imported food. We're joined now by Federal Agricultural Minister Barnaby. Joyce, Barnaby, good morning to you.
Good morning, Karl. How are you?
Gee, I tell you what, we've dropped the ball on this, haven't we?
Yes, Karl, obviously we don't want anybody to get sick, but let's just go through the process so everybody understands. Food Standards Australia and New Zealand determine what's supposed to be tested and what's not tested and the level of testing. The Department of Agriculture then does the testing and the Department of Health follows it up. So we follow the instructions, but as a group, yes, we've got to make sure that people are not sick. That's our job.
OK, Food Standards of Australia then need a rocket.
Well, they determine whether things are a high-risk food, in which case 100% is tested,
right,
or a surveillance food, in which case 5% is tested. They hand that to us, and then we follow the protocols, and basically on a low-risk food, looking for residues such as cadmium, not necessarily testing for, or not testing for Hep A. There is a good way, though, you can avoid all this, and that is to make sure you eat Australian product.
Agree, and we'll get on to that in just a second, but you can confirm this morning that we have actually failed to test frozen berry imports for pathogens harmful to humans, despite similar products, as you know, being linked to hepatitis outbreaks in Europe and North America. They have failed to do that in this country.
Well, I'm reading that this morning, and obviously we've got to make sure that if we have to, we are now having a review of all the health ministers.
Barnaby, with respect, why are you reading it? Why don't you know that?
Beg your pardon?
Why are you having to read that? Why don't you know that already?
Karl, I had a report back from my department this morning. All the health ministers are now basically getting together, and if they want to review it and move the level of screening up, then Department of Health, whereas the Department of Agriculture, we're only too happy to test for the whole of it. Now, Karl, why they probably don't want the Department of Agriculture to determine the testing limits, it's obviously in my interest to make sure that we eat as much Australian product as possible. So I'd be asking for the greatest scrutiny as I could possibly get, which other people would say, well, that's a non-tariff barrier you're trying to put in place, Barney.
OK, has the product now been reclassified as high risk?
No, it hasn't been reclassified as high risk now. It's been because what we've done now, Karl, is we've recalled it all. So you can't actually, all the product that's out there has got to come back, and no more product from this line is allowed to go out.
OK, but other products like that, I'm sorry to put you through the hoop here, but look, I think people are really angry about this and want information.
I understand, Karl. That's why I'm here talking to you.
So future berries coming in, will they be tested as high risk?
If that is what Food Standards Australia and New Zealand want, then that is what we will do. I mean, it's like Karl saying, going to the police and saying, I think that the police should reduce the speed limit on this street. The police say, we're happy to. Just give us the instruction. It's not our authority to determine what speed people drive at. It's our authority to enforce that law. So if we are given the instruction by Food Standards Australia and New Zealand to increase the level of screening, I'm only too happy to do that. More importantly, I want to make sure I do everything in my power to say to people, your safest food is your domestic food. That's why you pay a premium for Australian product. It's clean and it's green and it's healthy.
You'll get no argument from me on that. Have you picked up the phone to Australian standards? Australian food standards?
The last discussion I had with the Minister was last night.
Yeah, OK. And so are you able to confirm things like, I mean, there's all sorts of information coming out, that almost all seafood imported into Australia uses water containing raw sewage? Are you aware of that?
I don't. Well, I know. You hear rumours. Whether I can actually prove that is the case, I don't know. I know that the phytosanitary requirements of other nations are not nearly as stringent as what we have here in Australia, Karl, and the best way to deal with that is eat Australian product.
I understand that, but we've got to stop this stuff coming in. And more importantly, don't we need to know if this is how food is produced and that what we are exposed to? I mean, if the Australian food standards aren't going to provide adequate protection for us, then we at least need to know, and it needs to be written right, doesn't it?
Well, Karl, it looks like we're on a unity ticket, mate. I agree with you. If we need stronger standards, we should have stronger standards.
Right.
If we should increase our screening, we should increase our screening. And in the meantime, we should have proper country of origin labelling that clearly identifies unambiguously, as soon as you pick up a package, whether it's from our country, with our strong phytosanitary requirements, that is making sure that fecal contamination, which is a very polite word for poo, is not anywhere near your food, not going to be put in your mouth, and stuff from other countries where maybe they're just not as concerned as we are.
Okay, Barnaby, make it happen. Do it.
Well, Karl, I'm glad I'm on this show to tell you that I'm doing precisely that.
It's good to know. How long is it going to take?
As quickly as I can do it, Karl. I mean, all this product's been recalled. There is a review to say whether we should, to try and have the discussion about increasing the level of scrutiny. I'm, as the policeman in the Department of Agriculture, just looking forward to someone saying, let's test the lot, because that means that we reinforce the message, buy Australian and save yourself a pain in the guts.
All right, keep the pressure on them, policemen. We'll be on your case as well. We appreciate your time today. It's an important story, and as I said before, a lot of people are frustrated and angry about this, and we're rightly angered and frustrated by it. Thanks for your time.